Habang naririto ang truck, pwede ninyong iabot ang inyong basura.
Will!
Payloader, sampit mo na lang kargahan.
Metro Manila Development Authority Chairman Bayani Fernando is no stranger to cleaning and clearing operations, but nothing prepared him for what he had to deal with after Typhoon Ketsana soaked the Philippines on September 26.
Sa tanang buhay ko, ito lang, ito pinakamalaki nangyari dito sa Manila.
Typhoon Ketsana dumped 1 month's worth of rain in Manila and the nearby regions in just 9 hours. The deluge left at least 280 fatalities, more than 680,000 people packed in 700 evacuation centers, and over $100 million worth of damages to infrastructure and agriculture. To date, 2 million Filipinos have already been affected.
Maya, may nadinig na akong alas 9, sakto mga 9:10. Dumadagundong na may mga kasamang bato, na parang bato. Nakita ko dun sa may bandang yon, rumarampang alon, ang laki-laki. Ang ginawa ko, tumalon na ako dun sa bahay namin. Dahil sabi ko, anak ko, mamamatay tayo nito. Dahil para kaming kako, sabi ko, katapusan na yata ng mundo ay. Hindi, ugat ng kawain yan dito.
Pristine lives right beside a creek and a quarry site. Rampaging waters of Ketsana swept away his house. But Ketsana did not spare even those who live in gated middle-class subdivisions, which have never been flooded in the past.
At 6 p.m., we decided to evacuate to my neighbor's house because flood waters were really rising. So you see here, my bedroom is located over there and we have a fire escape there. So kahit maliit yung bintana, talagang pinagpilitan na namin na doon kami dumaan. And then naglakad kami to our neighbors. Tapos merong maliit na ledge doon. Tapos inakyat namin. So ginawa namin yun lahat habang umuulan, nasa dilim. Cars were floating, the dogs' cages were floating. We couldn't see our gate anymore. And then outside the street, we saw trucks passing, we saw tables passing, furniture passing.
Hanggang dito yung tubig.
Anna's mother, Corazon, plans to move out of their place where she has lived for more than 40 years.
Ang importante, walang nasawi sa amin. It taught me na huwag masyadong i-value material things. And material things can be easily replaced. Huwag na isipin yung nakaraan. Tumawa na lang, charge it to experience.
Metro Manila Development Authority's Fernando says the cleanup operations in the metropolis will take at least 2 months.
Wala na natin lahat to at pinauuna ko na ako ang pangunahing siguro may kasalanan. Para sa gayon ay makita natin lahat. Para lahat tayo matanggap natin na tayo may kapwa kasalanan dito.
Fernando blames the massive flooding to the clogging of waterways and drainage systems.
Leksyon dito sa aking nakita ay kasakiman. Binahayan natin yung hindi dapat pagbahayan. At may bahay na tayo, lumampas pa tayo, kumipot yung sapa natin. Basura natin, kung saan natin tinatapon. Lahat ng bagay na ginagawa natin ay may kinalaman dito sa pagbabaha na ito. Ito yung nangyari sa kawalan natin ng political will. Ang mga liderato natin natakot sa bandang huli na magpatupad ng batas sapagkat ang mga mamamayan natin ay nagagalit sa nagpapatupad ng batas.
The heavy rains of Ketsana in Metro Manila were more than the amount of downpour of Hurricane Katrina that devastated New Orleans in 2005. But while the flooding in the country is being attributed to the clogging of waterways, the deluge in New Orleans was aggravated because the levees broke. Floods are not rare occurrences in the Philippines, which is visited by an average of 20 typhoons every year. But the fury of Ketsana caught everyone by surprise, including the authorities.
This kind of magnitude in Metro Manila was seen for the first time. It was just signal number 1. Activities will not stop when you have signal number 1.
National Disaster Coordinating Council spokesperson Anthony Goles who is also deputy spokesperson of the presidential palace, attributes the massive flooding to the saturation of the soil.
We had 3 typhoons. The 4th is Ondoy. The 3 typhoons hit the same path, making our soil supersaturated, meaning to say the absorptive capacity of our soil has reached its maximum.
He admits that while the government has a disaster preparedness plan in place, it is overwhelmed by the devastation caused by Ketsana.
Our systems were overworked. We tried preparing. I would always say we are always trying to prepare our communities. There has to be a shared responsibility among stakeholders. Everybody must have the shared responsibility concept so that is the only time we can say we are more prepared now than yesterday.
Number of casualties there.
Every year, the government appropriates more than $40 million in the national budget to address calamities. The Philippines has already appealed to the international community for help, as funds needed to cope with the disaster that was Ketsana are simply not enough.
We need a bigger calamity fund just to meet the basic requirements.
Extreme weather conditions have been observed in the Philippines in the past 2 years, prompting some government officials to attribute the rains of Ketsana to climate change.
Kasi may inalang yan si Ondoy.
Dr. Rosa Perez, one of the country's climate change experts, says more research is needed to confirm that. But if Ketsana were a consequence of climate change, Perez says that the Philippines, a disaster-prone area, can only expect more frequent and intense extreme events. She notes that the country's public storm warning system is limited to forecasting the intensity of the wind and not the amount of rainfall to be expected in specific areas.
If you have the so-called Doppler radar, it can follow the life cycle ng cloud at susundan niya kung saan ito pupunta.
That's what we don't
Then you
have.
can predict kung saan talaga at saka gaano karami ang babagsak na ulan.
Pinakahuling ulat tungkol sa
Pag-asa, the
bagyong
country's weather bureau, has requested the purchase of Doppler radars 5 years ago. Lack of funds delayed the procurement of the much-needed equipment, which was first used in other countries more than 20 years ago. A Doppler radar costs $1.6 million.
You prevent the evaporation and then
Perez says Metro Manila needs no less than 2 Doppler radars.
there should be at least 2 na nakatutok. Yung radar, hindi naman lahat yan nakikita. So, kailangan yung isa tututok dun sa blind spot.
Pag-asa says one such radar will be in place by December of this year. If only the radars were in place, the damage wrought by Ketsana, particularly the loss of lives, could have been minimized if not prevented.